lawmakers in Minnesota were shot. It was reported later yesterday that one of them did die. Let's get into this story. This is crazy. The suspect, from what I understand at this point, is still at large. Crazy things happening in Minnesota, folks. Let's get into that breaking news. We are in for wild times.
Good Saturday morning. We are still covering breaking news right now at this time. What we know so far is this. Police are on the scene of two separate shootings in the Twin Cities. We have confirmed that two state lawmakers have been shot, along with one of the spouses of those lawmakers. Our sources confirm one state senator was shot is State Representative Melissa Hortman. She is pictured here. She was Speaker of the House for many years in the state legislature. The other person that we've confirmed has been shot is State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. He is of Champlin. And just within the last half hour, Governor Walz activated the State Emergency Operations Center. He says local law enforcement in Champlin and Brooklyn Park have the full resources of the state of Minnesota behind them. He went on to say that they are monitoring the situation closely and they will share more information soon. I know we have a press conference coming up in about 23 minutes. It's going to be in Blaine from the Champlin PD. We will learn more information there. Right now, we know of two active scenes. One is in Champlin. The other one is in Brooklyn Park.
So let's pause here for a second. So as you can see, these two areas, again, I haven't been to Minnesota, but I know some of you are from in that area. These two locations, it's not like they were right next to each other, right? So obviously this is something that was planned, I would say probably well in advance, to be able to get from one of these locations to the other one, but it's not like they were right next to each other.
Live in this area. You got this emergency alert on your phone about 5:15 this morning that said Brooklyn Park Police issued a shelter-in-place order for a 3-mile radius of Edinburgh Golf Course for an emergent event. Police say that they were looking for a suspect in multiple targeted shootings who is armed and dangerous. It's unclear if this is still active. We haven't heard otherwise, though. Suspect is a white male, brown hair, wearing black body armor over blue shirt and blue pants, and may misrepresent himself as law enforcement. Do not approach, call 911. We have confirmed that that person did misrepresent themselves as law enforcement and did two separate shooting incidences.
That's the crazy part, that they were reporting that the suspect misrepresented himself as a police officer. So again, this is something that was thought out well in advance. And we'll get into why we believe they chose to target these two particular people in just a second.
Sammy Selena is live on scene near Edinburgh Golf Course right now. Sammy, last time we talked to you, we were just breaking the news that two state lawmakers were shot. What can you tell us now?
Hey, Chris. The scene here in front of the Brooklyn Park Police Department is pretty much the same as 30 minutes ago. But when we arrived to this scene, we saw that there were multiple officers that were every block that you could see, you could find that there were police officers. When folks were leaving the neighborhood, they found that they were going to check each car that was leaving the neighborhood. Police officers were asking people to go through their trunks to just make sure that there were no suspects in the car, that sort of thing. Of course, we're learning more details, but as so far as we know, that emergency alert has not been lifted. So police, they are continuing to ask people to stay away from the area, to stay in their homes, to be safe. A few minutes ago, we saw police still gearing up in tactical gear. Right now, here at the police department, it's quiet. That's what we know right now. Of course, we're learning more details. We hope to learn more details, I should say, when that press conference happens in Blaine. We'll take it back to you.
Okay, so let's get into some of the details here about the suspect, because it didn't take them long to figure out who this this was. And you'll find a connection here about those two lawmakers. Now, there's a couple of things that are going around. Some people feel that this had something to do with their positions on deportations. I think it was reported earlier this morning that one of the lawmakers, I guess, had one of the No Kings protest flyers like on their car. There's different things that have been said. But one of the things about the suspect that I think you may find interesting, according to his LinkedIn post, he said that he did work in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And I found that particularly interesting. There's a post, I'll see if I can find it here. There's a post where he posted, I guess he was looking for a job at that time back in the US, that he did work in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and that he was looking for work in the United States again. So him returning back. I just thought that was interesting. I'll show that to you in just a second, but they bring more information here on NBC News. Check this out.
Now we do have confirmation of who the person that police are looking for in connection with the shooting of these state lawmakers. And we're now able to confirm that police are looking for Vance Bolter, born in 1967 in the state of Minnesota. Maggie Vespa, you have more on this.
Yeah, Jose, this just into NBC News, according to 3 people familiar with the investigation. Vance Bolter, a 57-year-old man from Minnesota, is the person authorities are now looking for in connection with these two, what they're calling politically motivated, politically targeted shootings in the Minneapolis area earlier this morning. And that name, Vance Bolter, spelling Boelter. Again, that's according to 3 people familiar. And remember, this is the guy who they say showed up at these 2 homes. And you're seeing Senator Hoffman's home from earlier this morning with those bullet holes in the front door, that chilling video from our affiliate on the ground. This is the guy who they say showed up at these 2 homes starting around 3:30 this morning. Dressed as a police officer, wearing that blue police officer shirt, that tactical vest, that utility belt with a dark colored SUV. It looked like one a police officer might be driving, with lights and sirens on the top. In other words, authorities saying completely impersonating an officer of the law, knocking on their door early in the morning of these 2 Democratic lawmakers in the state of Minnesota. And they say targeting both of them, ambushing them with gunfire, shooting each lawmaker, including Senator Hoffman, and Melissa Hortman, Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark, shooting each lawmaker and their spouses. Representative Hortman and her husband both passing away, killed during this shooting. Senator Hoffman and his wife both taken to a local hospital for surgery. Authorities.
Pause there for a second. So they believe that this was politically motivated. Again, Democrats are probably going to try to see this as a win. Right. They're going to try to say, oh, this was a crazy Trump supporter and he came out here trying to kill politicians. And they will, believe it or not, they will use that as like a win to help the party. But I want you to see, we'll come back to this because I found that a screenshot that I had. 1 second. Let me just share my screen. I want to show you that post from him, because I want people to see this. Let me just zoom in here a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. So, and this was shared on Blue Sky. Can everybody see? Okay. It was shared on Blue Sky by Jacqueline Sweet. Suspected Minnesota shooter Vance Bolter posted a month ago on LinkedIn that he was looking for work in the US after being in the DRC. So listen to this, guys. So this is his profile on LinkedIn. Apparently at one point he was CEO of a group called Red Lion Group. I couldn't access the website for that, so I don't even know if that website even exists anymore. But he says, "Hi, everyone. I'm looking to get back into the U.S. food industry, and I'm pretty open to positions. Other leadership positions outside of the food industry I'm willing to hear about as well. I have been doing projects in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in Central Africa the last 3 years with Red Lion Group. If you hear of any opportunities or just want to catch up, please send me a message. And then he posted here the type of roles that he was looking for: director of operations, vice president, general manager, president roles, etc. And then he said, thanks and hope you've been well. So what was interesting about this, folks, is that I thought to myself, okay, was in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We've talked about the Congo before multiple times on the show. A lot of exploitation that's happening there. And I just thought to myself, like, if he was working in the food industry in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, what exactly was he like? What was this Red Lion group? Because when I clicked on what was the website, that link doesn't even work anymore. And what exactly were they doing, like, in the Congo? There's a lot of poverty. There's exploitation in the Congo. You have children working in those mines, the cobalt mines, so that we can have the phones that we have and all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on there in the Congo, right? So what exactly was this guy doing? I don't know. So there's a little bit more information. I thought you'd find that interesting.
Officials hopeful that they'll pull through. They have so far survived. But this is a major update now confirmed by 3 people familiar with the investigation to NBC News that Vance Bolter, they say, is the suspected shooter who they believe ditched that SUV, took off on foot, and is now at large in the suburban Minneapolis area with this massive, you can see that SUV there being towed away, with this massive manhunt underway. Jose.
Let's look at that, Maggie, because that's the one that the suspect was utilizing. Boy, yeah. You see that? The lights on the top. Look at that. And in the plate, you see the plate right in the front. It says police.
Right.
I mean,
and again,
go ahead.
We've talked about,
So I wanted you guys to see that because the license plate on the front said police. So I don't know how he was able to pull this off. I honestly thought, like, when I see people impersonate a police officer, that's only something that happens in the movies. I've not heard of people doing this in real life. Like, how did they get away with, like, if you watch the movie The Town, how did they get away with, stealing these cop uniforms, and you get these fake license plates and all that type of stuff? But that's apparently what he was able to do. Now, I am hearing people say, thank you so much for this, Tabitha. The suspect worked for Governor Walz. He's a Democrat. His wife also worked for the state in some capacity. He is blue MAGA, not MAGA. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Let's continue here a little bit more.
You and I were just talking. Keep in mind, it was pitch black. It was before dawn, 2:30 in the morning. And you point out, right, those lights on the top, just frankly, the shape, make, and model of that SUV.
Let's take a look at that, Maggie. Let's look at that together.
Here it goes.
Watch this. Look at that. The back, there's some stripes there. You got I think the tag in the front says police, the lights on the top. And then there are some lights inside that are actually still moving. Boy, that top and bottom of the front windshield. Look at that. I mean, this is
So if you don't know any better, guys, I mean, you would probably think, okay, yeah, it's a police vehicle, a police officer in, a different car. Because they do that. Remember, they drive regular cars too, not just always the police cars. You would probably assume, okay, yes, this is legitimately an officer of the law who is at my door.
As close to a police SUV as you can get, if it's not one, because it's just, how do you at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning or 3 p.m. not think that this is a police vehicle? And I'm glad we're showing it again. Let's look at it together. There's some numbers on the top right of the back of the vehicle. No, just those stickers on it, as long as that, as well as that bumper in the front with those lights, top and bottom of the front windshield. Take a look at that. And it does say, what does it say? It says police.
Yeah. Yep. Right. No, that license plate says police. The shape, make, and model of it is something that authorities were very blunt. They said, look, this absolutely looked like, in other words, they just stopped short of saying this guy did a good job of making himself look like a law enforcement officer. The way he was dressed, the gear he was wearing, that vest, that belt, the car he was driving, the lights and sirens on top of it. There is no way, from Minnesota's governor to the other law enforcement officers who have spoken at these press conferences today, saying there is no way that these two Democratic lawmakers, again, hours before dawn, middle of the night, would have been able to tell that they weren't answering the door to a law enforcement officer. You see it going by again, Jose, with those lights still flashing.
Still flashing. Yeah. So he's been planning this for a while, and he's probably gone by now. Like he's probably, if they didn't catch him already, you'll see a little bit more information here. I think this is his roommate coming in here. Listen to this.
We're going to go live now. We've got a reporter on scene there. It was Raya, I believe, but now it's Michelle. Anyway, let's go live. What have you learned on scene this afternoon?
Well, Julie Arena, I'm about to get to some pretty ominous details. I've been on scene for about 10 minutes. It's, again, ominous is the word that I can use to describe what I'm learning right now. But first, let me give you paint this scene for you right now. We're at Fremont and 48th. Again, North Minneapolis, a lot of media members here trying to gain some information. This is a home, as you can see. There has been a lot of damage here to the front yard. You can see the windows are busted. We see some big tire tracks here on the front yard, on the dirt. It is clear that something happened here, guys. And MPD was able to confirm with us that this was the address where they executed a search warrant. So that much we know from MPD, again, them saying they assisted in the search warrant, the search that was happening right here. And from speaking with a roommate, he doesn't want to be named, he doesn't want to go on camera, but I spoke with a roommate in the last 5 minutes. He tells me Vance Bolter lives here just a couple times a week. Again, we already know about his residence in Green Isle, but this is where he lives just a couple times a week for about 2 years is what this roommate says. And this is so that Mr. Bolter can have some of the odd jobs that this roommate was saying. Apparently, he has worked in positions where he brings bodies to the morgue. Apparently, Mr. Bolter would also take eyeballs out for research. Again, these are the words from one roommate that I spoke with.
I thought that part was interesting that he would take out eyeballs for research. What type of research was he trying to do? Eric's also informed me too. You guys need to hear this, that Governor Walz apparently appointed him to a state board, but didn't, I guess, really know him as personally, right? So I don't know about this one, guys. I think this whole situation is just really strange. But the eyeball thing I thought was kind of, you guys need to hear that. I thought that was scary.
They also know him as a good guy. There seems to be a number of roommates who share this home with Mr. Bolter. And about noon or sometime in the afternoon is when that so-called big military truck tried to come to this home, or did come to this home, and try to execute that search. That roommate I spoke with says that truck rammed the doors right open. That truck apparently had a rod with a camera attached, presumably in their attempts to find their suspect, Mr. Vance Bolter. From as far as we know, he wasn't here. And the roommates tell us, what the roommate that I spoke with tells us, Mr. Bolter has not been here all morning since he left at about 6:30 a.m. Now, what got the roommates concerned initially, they had known about the incident over in Brooklyn Park that started this whole situation. But what got them initially concerned was Mr. Bolter usually has two cars, those police style cars, those former police cars that we are now so familiar with. But that is the cars that he normally drives around. One of the cars was in the back, and that roommate noticed the passenger side window was busted. Okay, and so one of the roommates, they started searching for Mr. Bolter. They know him as Vance. Noticed that Vance was not here at home, and so they texted him. So
let's pause. This is a weird story. This guy is 57 years old, had roommates at a house that he stayed there sometimes a couple of nights throughout the week. Then apparently have lived in another residence. This is really, really weird. Was using eyeballs. Some people mentioned, in the chat, like maybe scanning the retina or whatever for research. Just finished doing work in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and then comes back to the U.S. looking for work in the food industry. All of this just sounds really weird. It makes you wonder, was this guy like undercover? Like, was he a part of the Alphabet Agency? Was he CIA? Was he something like that? Because this story to me just doesn't make any sense. Here's the other thing. They still haven't caught the guy. John is still out there. John's out there. I mean, there's no turning back from this, but John is probably long gone. Maybe John already left the country. We really don't know, but they have not found him. Didn't find him. How was he able to get his car to look like a police car? Where did he get the license plate from? Where did he get the uniform from? Obviously the lawmakers, the people who opened the door, he looked enough like a police officer for them to trust that he was a police officer. So how did he get all that? I'm thinking he had help. I'm thinking this is not a one-man operation. I'm thinking somebody else did help him. I don't know, what kind of message he's trying to send, but I don't think he did this alone.
At that point, they did get a text back. Again, all according to that roommate I spoke with. Mr. Bolter apparently said, "I love you guys very much. I'm making some bad choices. I do not want to implicate you all. I may be gone for a while, and I may be dead." Guys, these are very, again, ominous. Those words, very ominous. And from that point on, these roommates, they contacted police. Again, I have not seen the text myself, and the words that I just read to you were me paraphrasing, or in fact, I actually wrote down verbatim what the roommate told me. And Julie, Rena, those were the words that one of the roommates I spoke with is paraphrasing, and the words that he remembers. Now, these are words, as you guys can imagine, these are words that you cannot shake off, right? Let me tell you once again some of the phrases that wrapped up that text. "I may be gone for a while, and I may be dead." Guys, back to you.
There you go. So he planned this out for quite some time, ladies and gentlemen. He knew what he was getting himself into here. Just an update again, like I said, on the lawmakers that were shot. Manhunt for suspect in political assassination rattles Minnesota. The police are still, again, looking for him. He's 57 years old in relation to killing of a state representative and shooting a state senator. A list in his car included, this is the interesting part, a list in his car included about 70 potential targets. 70 potential targets. Guys, John was planning this out for a while. So I wanted everyone to hear that part. It's not just about the lawmakers that he shot and killed in Minnesota. Apparently, he had a list of 70. And for me, like, I looked at this and I was like, yo, what is going on, fam? Right? And they still haven't found this guy. They have not found him. So it says they shared a photograph of him that they said was captured by a security camera in Minneapolis on Saturday. Not long after the overnight attacks, he was wearing a cowboy hat. Yeah, again, those who were killed, check this out. The attack shook leaders from both parties, and many condemned the killings, which took place on a day of national protests of President Trump's policies. That was another thing. This happened the same day as the No Kings protests took place. But the fact that this guy had a list of 70 names, nah, bruh. John been planning this for a while. And I would be surprised if he's still in the country. I would be surprised if he's still in the country at this point. But they haven't caught him. And I want to say something about this. It does give me like CIA vibes. It does. It really does. At the same time, look, you guys may have noticed how the type of violence that we've been experiencing in the US recently, right? Like, not just violence. We know the US is a violent country, but the type of violence, right? And I don't condone violence. And we say that on this show. We got to make sure we say that, because people will, y'all ain't coming after me saying, well, Sabby said go do. Sabby ain't say go do nothing. So I do condone violence. And I do want to say this. This is what some of us have been warning, that if things did not change, and I mean for the everyday working Joe Schmo, that people would start taking matters into their own hands. Look at everything that's been happening, right? Now, I know, like, if my grandma was alive, she would probably say, we're living in the end times. I've heard that since I was a kid. People have been saying that since, or even before I was a kid. I've heard it for years, people saying we're living in the end times. But I think it speaks to something about this particular country, where it just seems like, I said condone. I said that again. God damn. I am so sorry, Heather. I don't condone violence. Don't condone violence. Excuse me. I got to make sure. Make that clear. I do not condone violence. But I just think that it says something about this country. I mean, this goes back to like the mass school shootings and just mass shootings that we have in this country. We have more in this country than any other country. It just goes back to that like people taking matters into their own hands. Now, John, I don't know. I think John had some help, but we'll have to keep track of this story. But something tells me that he had some help. Very strange situation. Did work in the Congo and then comes back to this. Makes me wonder what happened in the Congo. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.